Hello everyone, and welcome to Automotive History through Diecast. Today we're going to do the history of the Skyline. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know it. I had to research it. I'm going to be reading off notes, but it is a car that has definitely been catching my eye lately and I would like to learn more about. So the Skyline did not originally start with Nissan. There was a company called Prince, and they were trying to make a luxury sports car like a BMW or a Mercedes type car, but they were struggling, and in 1969 Nissan bought them out, and that's when they made their first Skyline. And I'm hoping I'm saying this right. The nickname they have for Skyline is Hokosuka, which means square or box skyline. In 1969 or 1966 to 69, they were four-door cars. There weren't. It wasn't until 69 they made their first two-door car, and they took that racing. And when they took it racing, they had to modify it. And when they modified it, they put the label GTR on it. Gran Turismo Racing. So that's where the Skyline GTR comes from. So I really don't have an example of the 66 through 69. I don't think Hot Wheels or Matchbox makes it. So the first one I have is the 1972, which would be the second gen. The nickname for the second gen is called Ken Mary, and that was because they were trying to sell this car. It's always been known, like in Japan, that American culture is very popular. So they did a lot of like American commercials with American actors, and they had Ken and Mary on their shirts, which is kind of funny because if you put it backwards, Mary Ken, American. But just something I noticed. But due to the gas crisis in the 70s, just like American cars, they didn't build two-door sports cars. So there were only 197 Ken Marys built in all of the 70s. So it's kind of a desirable collectible car. So it really didn't get its full potential because they stopped making them. There was a time period where there was no Skyline, but they were still racing Skylines. That's where the R30 comes in. The Silhouette really wasn't a production car, but it was experimenting, learning what worked, what didn't work. I have these 2000 GTs. So these are like the R30 version. So then the 80s rolled around, and just like in America, the economy started booming, gas prices were back to normal, and Nissan wanted to build something that excited people. They wanted to get people back to buying Nissans, and that's when they made the R32. The R32 was the first four-wheel drive, four-wheel steer Nissan Skyline, and what is the beginning of what we think of as the Nissan Skyline. There's another R32. So the third gen would be the 33, 34, which is what is known as, I believe, the Godzilla. Very popular. They brought back the GTR badge for the third gen, which ran from 89 to 94. I heard somewhere that Paul Walker's, the one that Paul Walker drove from Fast and Furious, was the first one imported into the United States. And the reason why we couldn't get them is because of emissions and all that. It has to be, to come from another state, it has to be 25 years old. There are actually people in Japan who buy these cars up, put them in warehouses to wait for them to turn 25 years old so they can sell them to the United States. So the fourth gen, the R33, which ran from 95 to 98, also came in a four-door. And then the fifth gen, which is the R34, was 99 to 02, and it came with an inline six twin turbo all-wheel drive. And then you have the 6th gen, which started in 2007 and is still running, which was the first version to come to the United States, to have an option in the United States from new. And it went from an inline 6 to a V6 twin turbo, still all-wheel drive. And I got the two LWBs versions. And then I wanted to show you some of the carded ones I have. So there's the 72 GTR. And then there's another 72 GTR. And then there is R34. And then the first edition 2017. And then the first edition 2009. So in researching this, I found it very interesting how much the car companies were going through the same thing as the American car companies. A lot of the stories I heard and read were the same, you know, how they had to stop making certain cars, the fun cars, during the gas crisis, and how when things were good, the passion drove the cars, and racing is what brought the technology along. It was very interesting, and it definitely made me appreciate these cars more. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.